Hello, friends and colleagues. Good afternoon from Jakarta. Welcome to ICRTH 2021 and welcome to our tour guide forum this afternoon with the theme, The Outlooks for Tour Professionals in Times of Crisis. It is a pleasure for me to chair this session for the next 1.5 hours. My name is Leni and I'm from Academy Pariwisata Indonesia, Jakarta, Indonesia. And I'm also a member of the Indonesian Tourist Guide Association, Jakarta chapter, and currently I'm taking my PhD study on ecotourism and environmental services management at IPB University, Indonesia. So, warm welcome to you all. Ladies and gentlemen, when the COVID-19 pandemic first hit us, never in our wildest dream, we would see that the entire travel and tour activities around the globe put to a stop. Now that the vaccines have been given and borders start to reopen, we hope that we can restart tourism again soon. One of the jobs in the tourism industry that was most badly hit by the pandemic was the tourist guide. That is why on this afternoon session, we invited 3 esteemed speakers who will share their ideas and insights on how to rebuild tourism from the perspectives of tourist guides in a more responsible and sustainable manner. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will introduce you to the speakers one by one. But first, I'd like to introduce you to our first speaker, Mr. Sangputu Subaya, or we know him as Mr. Sangtu. Mr. Sangtu has been working as a tourist guide since 1976. Yes, you heard me right, 1976. Yeah. So it's around 45 years of practical experience. And Mr. Sangtu speaks English, Spanish, French, and Italian, and holds a master's degree in law from State University Udayana, Bali, Indonesia. His involvement in the Indonesian Tourist Guide Association started in 2002 from the ITGA Bali board, which has about 9,000 members. Mr. Sangtu in 2018 was also assigned as the Southeast Asia Tourist Guide Association chairman ad interim for five months. And since 2016 until the present, Mr. Sangtu serves as the chairman of National Indonesian Tourist Guide Association with its subdivision in all 34 provinces in Indonesia. For our session this afternoon, Mr. Sangtu will share his topic on the role of tourist guide for sustainable tourism. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, from Bali, Indonesia, let's welcome Mr. Sangputu Subaya. Mr. Sangtu, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Leni, for the introduction. Firstly, I hope that everyone in good health. Good afternoon. So I'm here from my working place in Bali, because actually my office is in Jakarta. So now I have 20-minute times. I will try to use my time wisely, because I think for a tourist guide, 20-minute time is not enough for discussing, for talking such a wide subject. So that's why I will talk straightforward about what the role of tourist guide in supporting sustainable tourism, especially on the time of crisis right now. So we know that everyone working in tourism field were hit by the pandemic COVID-19. Well, so next slide, please. Next slide, please. You hear me, Lenny? Yeah, okay. So as we are from Indonesia. So here I would like to share with audience, with participant, the Indonesian case. As you know, that Indonesia is part of Southeast Asia, where we in the past time we realized united one single destination ASEAN. So beside the Indonesian Tourist Guide Association, we also the member of Southeast Asia Tourist Guide Association. But firstly, I would like to introduce my country, Indonesia. It is in the slide. It is red. So it's a big archipelago actually, with total population about 270 million people, and consisting of 34 provinces and 17,000 more islands. So due to the tourism, actually, last 2 years before pandemic, our president gave a target to our Minister of Tourism to reach 20 million foreign tourist arrival. But it seems that failed. The arrival just about 16.11 million. So it's about 81% of the target. Fortunately, we have our domestic tourists to flourish all the tourist destinations. Well, so that is the fact. I mean, the very important sectors, because everybody know that tourism brings the visa for the country, revenue for the country. So in the big picture, tourism, there is a tour guide. So as long as tourism exists, they need the tour guides. Firstly, I would like to inform you that we have to have the same perception of this profession of tourist guide, because some people still see a person who speak foreign language and then accompanying the guests, the tourists in the streets, that call already tourist guide. But let's say then, what is the tourist institution called WFTGR, World Federation Tourist Guide Associations? Please, next slide. Please, next. Okay, that's well, I gave you a little bit normative. Tourist guide, according the World Federation of Tourist Guide Association, is a person who guides visitors in the language of their choice and interprets. Person normally possesses an area-specific qualification issued by or recognized by appropriate authority. Please pay attention to the online sentence. Possesses an area-specific qualification, usually issued and recognized by appropriate authority. So that's why we have in our country the term of a legal guide or illegal guides. So our institutions, it's called HPI in local language, in Bahasa, because we speak Bahasa in Indonesia. HPI, we pronounce in Indonesian pronunciation, HPI or ITGA for the international interactions. So ITGI sheltered all the legal guides all over the country. So we have actually, next slide please. Next slide please. Well, so ITGI, Himpunan Pramusata Indonesia in National Language, is a tourist guide association with 34 subdivisions. Because we have in all Indonesia, there are 34 provinces. Yeah, so we complete. We have in all provinces our subdivision. And also, we have about 217 entities at regency level. The town, or in Indonesia called kabupaten, we have also our subdivision. And with the total members, about 9,551,000 active members. Because actually, if we ask the government in every province, so actually sometimes we tell the people of Indonesia, HPI or ITGA has about 14,000, 15,000, but many of our members already switched the professions. And that's where you can click on our website in dpp.hpi.org. So our logo is a bird, endemic bird, come from Papua. That's what we call it, cendrawasih, with red and white. So the cendrawasih, this kind of bird, is the bird of paradise. Because tourism in Bali, in Indonesia, the main destination of tourist destination in Indonesia is Bali. Because in Bali, that's bird called the bird of paradise. So Bali is the island of the paradise. We are, as a frontliner, is the people who can introduce the country like the bird. So the performance should be very, should be charming, should be very nice. The sound should be very interesting, like that. Okay, so next. Well, talking about single destination, like I introduced before, we are 10 countries in Southeast Asia, form institution too, let's call it SIATGA, Southeast Asia Tourist Guide Association. SIATGA is the founder because the aim is want to make to expand our networking with our colleague in Southeast Asia. Next. Okay. Well, now I would like to explain a little bit how the standing position of ITGA. So ITGA is just part of many stakeholders, tourism association working in tourism field under an umbrella body called Gabungan Industri Pariwisata Indonesia. So actually, I translate in English is Indonesian Tourism Board. That is well mentioned in Tourism Act, Chapter 11, Article number 50. So this umbrella body absorb all the aspiration from all association, tourism association, from KRI, for example, hotel and restaurant, and CITA is a travel agent association, and also Putri, like Tourist Object Association, and Elitifari Academic, and all we sit together and talking about what grand design to develop tourism, and what deviation we have to be corrected, like that. So HPI, our ITGA, is important, very strategic. Our position is a frontliner, because good or bad image of a country, it depends on our members, how they perform the job during giving the services. Okay, next. Well, let's look a little bit at these diagrams, tour guide in the center. It depends from where you see, the point of view, you see this profession, tour guide. From, well explained on the next slide. If we talk about more piece of tourism, it's from perception of tourism. Tourism consider that a tour guide is a person, is someone to sound everything about the country, who dignitaries in the country. So they talk about all the tourism product to the tourists. So that's why he called mouthpiece, or in Bahasa, corong pariwisata. So as Lenny told that I am speaking French, c'est la voix de tourisme, la voz de tourisme, like that. So the guide must always upgrading their knowledge to explain what they have in the country. So from I think next slide is already right on all the description. Government perspective. Yeah, he's a professor, which is competent in his field to explain everything about his country, such as who's who dignitary of the country, geography, demography, history, economy, politics, culture, and much more. That's why he could be considered as the ambassador of the country. Because before we are called HPI-ITGA, also called by the Minister of Tourism as ambassador, as Duta Wisata Indonesia, because representing the country. Okay, next. That is the tourism perspective, already I explained. So it's a frontliner, it's in front. Because we know those who are working in tourist guide, I think the participant, now I just see in the chat room, in the participant rooms, mostly of our members, you know that your role, you're always in front. Since the tourists arrive in the country, so he met the guide. The first person he met is the guide, and usually the guide will stick together during the length stay of the tourists. So you can imagine. So he must talk all the time, must pay attention all the time, and also they always explain all the products they have in the country. Okay, next. From tourist perspective, look, for tourists, because here we have then on the final speakers, the tourists from China but live in Korea, what actually they expect from a tourist guide if you are a traveler like that. So he expected to be a good companion in traveling. That's important. Because look, tourism actually, we sell happiness. That's the essential tourism. We sell happiness. So if you can imagine if you arrive in the country, your guide is troublesome, so you will spoil your holiday. Charming and able to offer pleasant condition during the trip by his performance, attitude, knowledge, and also his sense of humor. So sometimes in our guiding training center, when we share with other people, with other colleagues, I mean, so sometimes the guide must be very serious, explaining every meaning of culture, everything. No, we have to have a sense of humor. You can imagine it's 8-hour time, you trespassing an island and to see the tourist destination. If you just always talk about religion, about culture, maybe the guests will get bored. It could reduce gawkiness of the tourists, which is actually as a newcomer in a place where they are facing different tradition, different atmosphere from their home, different way of life, different language, different regulation, etc. So tourist guide will be interpret all these differences. That's the role of the guide, of tourist guide actually. He is the first person who will be called if something bad happened to the client as a local contact. Even though we work for travel agents like that, but the tourist guide always be able to answer everything, the problem of the clients. And on the beginning, when we meet, we always introduce we always give a map of Indonesia, a map of, if they come to Bali, a map of Bali with the number of our mobile phone. So 24 hours must be ready if the client have any problem, even in a hotel or something in the restaurant and in the street, something. The guide sometimes call in the midnight to settle the problem. Okay, then next, user perspectives. So as I told you, we work for travel agent. So he is acting as a representative of the company. He handles the client as his consumer by promoting product, including after-sales service. That means if sometimes the package store that's consisting with just transfer only in and out, the length of stay, the client want to be free. And that's our responsibility to this guy to sell all product, yeah, to the client. That's for this direct selling product, we need the skill how to encourage the client to go with us for buying a tour package like that. Okay, next. Okay, so it's the last, I think, perspective from tourist attraction. As you know that the tourists come to a destination, tourist destination, want to see the object. You can imagine if a tourist guide not be able to explain the objects. Like in Indonesia, for example, maybe everyone know about Borobudur is the highlight object in Indonesia, the Buddhist temple. So a tourist guide must be able to explain not concretely what you see in front of the eye. So to bring the people, to bring the visitors to see this object, I mean, in mind, or for example, let's say narrative, normative. Oh, this temple, for example, was built on an 8th century. You can imagine 8th century is 13,000 years ago. I'm not 1,300 years ago. Now is 21st century, for example. So how they make this monument like that? There is no cement, there is no electricity, there is no like that. So they explain from many aspects. So that's why he makes the object become alive by telling its historical and socio-cultural backgrounds. So just like a movie, colossal movie, when you explain professionally this subject. So that's why the guide, as we are Indonesian, we love our country, could be proud having our ancestor can establish already a masterpiece like Borobudur in 1,300 years ago. So many generations behind like that. So he explained the meaning of every cultural expression. When we made the dances, when we made statue, architecture, and many more related to art expression. Because mostly in our country, in Indonesia, we build tourism based on cultural tourism. But now you know that tourism is developing so fast. So we have a beauty of nature, now ecotourism, concerning the mountain, the forest, the sea, everything. So now well expanded the tourism. Okay, next. Danny? Okay. So now is the crucial question. What is it that doing during the time of crisis? So everyone knows that now that for tourism is seriously hit by pandemic 19. That's everyone now. So for us, the tourist guide who work in tourism, we are really seriously affected. Nobody working. In the beginning, it's okay. The promise maybe will pass in another 3 months, or 6 months, 1 year. Now nearly 15 months already. We have no job, jobless. So can be said starving all our members. Maybe no more saving. So in that case, we as the board of ITGA, so what we do, we encourage all members, please, because according to history, you know that there's no pandemic is everlasting. So one day they will meet its end, will being overcome like that. So better we take advantage of this stay-home time during 15 months time to improve ourselves, to make upgrading, to upskilling, like that. So just a minute. You can see the launching program upskilling and making marketplace in a group. invite ideation, learning technique, and training how to make virtual tour. You will see in some photo in the end of the presentation. And apply financial assistance to the government, encouraging members to keep optimism, to push the members taking other temporary job for survival. These things I see later on that many of our friends, our members, they're selling dried food and use his car to in the parking lot or beside the wide street and selling food, something like that. And many also because our members mostly come from the village, so urban, come back to the village, conduct traditional life, working in agriculture, but even working in construction, like that. So that's for temporary job. And the last one is to intensify the program of standardization and certification. It's given by government and collaborate with other institutions who improve, who assess, make assessment of our competence and improve our knowledge and skill. Let's see, because I think the time is running very fast. The last one. Okay, so what does the tour guide do for sustainable tourism? Look, sustainable tourism is a nice discussion, because the Sustainable Development Goal, SDG, so influence that in many forums, so the people discuss about people, about planet, about profit. But we actually, starting from Bali, we have already principle how to develop tourism based on culture. So there are three principles to develop and to keep harmony, to keep happiness for the local people. That's what we call it, three hitakarana. Three elements must be maintained to keep harmony. As the relation between human and God, human to human, and human to environment. As you know that most Indonesia, mostly Muslim, I see the religion it's the same. In Muslim, I see the same principle. Amun min Allah, ablun min Allah, ablun min nanas, and ablun min al alam, like that. So that's the most important thing. Where when we develop the tourism, we always base on three relationships in order to the conservation. As a medium, we are a tour guide. We have two parties, the tourists itself and the local people. So we educate all the time, the tourists and the local people, why you do that, why you do this, yeah, to nature conservation. To collaborate with other stakeholders to train local guides of tourism village, because now our government, central government, developed what we call it tourism village in local language, desa wisata, based on community-based tourism. Socialization to campus of how important to be tourist guide. You know that many of our member and also our board working as a trainer, working as a lecturer in some academy and some university. So I always tell them that please make a socialization of this profession. Profession actually is a noble officium. It's a noble job because is in frontliner in tourism industry. To donate to every catastrophe happens. So if Indonesia, look, Indonesia is a big archipelago, but very volcanic. So very often there is sometimes earthquakes, something like that. So we, as an institution, very concerned of that. Then to support government policy to eliminate poverty. Also, you know that sometimes that is not harmony. So the dollars, the visa come from on one side, and another side we have still poverty. It's even reforestation, and many times we involve in reforestation. That we call it ITGI actually is like just like if I take an analogy, just like what we say, a small republic. You can imagine in a big country, 34 provinces, different language, different religion, different ethnic. We are sheltered in one association. That's important to inform you that in Indonesia, there's only one institution where all the legal tourist guides sheltered, that we call it HPI in local pronunciation, and ITGR, what I'm explaining about. So for this, I'm really proud of it, that in this family, ITGR family, we strengthen our brotherhood ties with all the colleagues. Just only because we have the same profession, we become a one nation, small nation, what we call it ITGA. That's for the time being I can explain. Maybe because maybe some I could not cover my presentation. So please feel free to make a comment, and you can also address in session of discussion. So this just for photo I show you. That's when I was in Bali as the chairman of ITGR Bali chapter, and my tagline is Bali Cantik Tanpa Sampah Plastik. This is very, very important, because everywhere we go, the tourist object, we still find the rubbish scattered around. That's not good. The client always complaining, but it is not easy. We appeal many times to the government how to cope these problems. So until now, as Lenny said, that I've been working in this tourism field already nearly 45 years. The same problem time to time. There's rubbish, and rubbish. It's concerning also the culture, the local culture, how the people, actually in Bali, for example, is the main destination. All the family, they are aware of the cleanliness. The women in Bali, when they wake up in the morning, the first thing they clean all the surrounding, all the house. But it is a missing link. When they put the rubbish in the ditch, they don't know then, because this will be a new problem of the inundation, like that, flooding, etc. That's less of socialization how to manage the rubbish. So we appeal the government many times to make a rubbish management to better done, like that. Forestation, like on the right. So we plan mangrove tree in the beach to avoid erosion, and then also we come to then ITG always coming, always attending this activity. And look on the left, on the left. So every catastrophe happen in all provinces, because you know that in Jakarta there is a catastrophe in some places, and our treasury very soon then organize an account to collect the donation, and we bring directly to the victim, like that. And the last one is when I explained already, but in this stay home time, for those who have skill of IT, we collaborate with an agent who IT agent, information technology agent, how to train and to learn how to make virtual tour. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until 5. On the beginning is okay, it's a trial and error, not so many participants. And then 2 second, and the third one, and the fifth one is attending by 15 countries from abroad, because it's about volcano. We have in one stand in our board, the man from Yogyakarta, to make this virtual tour, and then was attract many people around the world, and to be participant. And it's good for at least the ability, the skill of guiding still persistent in this time of crisis. That's. It's time is okay. Any?
Yes.
It's okay?
Yes.
Okay, that's all what I can explain to you. Maybe I'm looking forward to sharing with our colleague from Philippines, Mr. Alberto Gadia, because in Philippines also is I think many problem in the matter of how we work in this time of crisis. Thank you very much for your attention for the time being, and we see you. Feel free, please, to ask the question during the session of discussion. Thank you very much, Reni.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sangtu, for a complete insight. We are introduced to ITGA and what are the roles of the Indonesian tourist guides during pandemic. Okay, now let's go to the Philippines. We have Mr. Alberto B. Gadia Jr. He is the National President for the Philippine Federation and Professional Tour Guide Association Incorporated. Mr. Gadia is also a market specialist of Tourism Promotion Board, Philippines, of the Department of Tourism. And as a tourism practitioner, Mr. Gadia is a part of the expert panel of the Technical Education Skills Development Authority in developing the training regulation and assessment for the National Certificate on Tour Guiding. And currently, Mr. Gadia is finishing his PhD in International Tourism Management at Lyceum of the Philippines University, Manila. His topic for this afternoon is Rebuilding Tourism, Tourist Guides Ready, Set, Go. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome from Manila, Philippines, Mr. Gadia. Mr. Gadia, the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon, mabuhay everyone. I hope that everybody can see my presentation. Let me present it again. I hope that everyone can hear me clearly.
Yes, yes.
That's great. Okay. So, by the way, in Philippines, we say mabuhay. Welcome everyone, and we're so happy that we were invited to be part of this uh, uh, activity, which is very, very relevant and very important for us to know what are the things that we need to consider and remember. So my topic is all about rebuilding tourism. So the statement of the praise stating that, are we ready? Are we set? Are we good to go? Especially if we're going to face the post-pandemic event. Nowadays, it's really this is really quite challenging. Um, just to give you an idea about my discussion. Uh, our association, by the
Excuse
way.
me, Mr. Gadia, I'm so sorry. Your PowerPoint is not showing yet. We are still looking at your folder.
Let me double check. Sorry.
Yes.
Let me share the screen again.
Okay. All good now. Thank you. You can make it into a slideshow.
I hope this is the, let me check. Sorry. Okay. So while I'm preparing the slide, okay. I hope this is better.
Okay, it's all good now. Thank you.
Okay, that would be great. Because as I stated that our country is basically composed of 7,000 islands, and we have more than 18 regions all over the country. So it's the same. We are archipelagic in nature, and also like Indonesia, We have several islands and islets. And for Philippines, we have more than 146 cities in the country. And our association, which is the sole federation of professional tour guides association in the Philippines, which we call it TG Fed, okay, Tour Guides Federation, okay, in short, we have 17 member association all over the country and counting. So we have also we also have several upcoming association members from a multilingual group, from a community-based tour guides group, and this is really something that is very important, especially for us, with the situation right now. We have to really be united, okay? And also, in Philippine setting, the tour guides are basically uh, having their accreditation, like in Indonesia and other countries, we are accredited by the Department of Tourism or the Ministry of Tourism of the country. So just to give you an idea, we are so happy because lately we had a discussion with our officials from the ministry, and with their assistance for the tour guides, they conducted a relaxed requirement in order for you to be accredited, reaccredited for your for accreditation for your for tour guides. So we're so happy to state also that one. Another thing that our federation also provided is part of the technical panel of the technical education. And looking forward, within this year, we will be launching the new technical education program, which we call it a national certificate for tour guides, through the help of the technical education. And also, in the Philippines, just to give you an idea, we are classified into uh, tour guides are classified into a community-based tour guides, which the community-based tour guides are basically coming from the different sites or a specific destinations or places in the area in different parts of the country. And we also have the what we call regional tour guides. And the regional tour guides are basically these are, just imagine, we have 18 regions, we have 18 different groups, okay, from different associations. And most of the tour guides in the Philippines are freelance. uh, it's an hourly workers whose livelihood depend on not only on the regular work but also on tips from appreciative uh, tourists. Okay, and in the Philippines particularly, the question now is, what are we doing? The question of, like, just imagine that the three major islands that we have, we have a huge number of membership. We are, as I stated, we are archipelagic and we are fragmented. And it's really quite challenging to convene with the situation right now, through virtual meetings, through virtual presentations. We could say that we are still one and intact, especially in cascading several informations to our member associations, from the national, from the regional to the grassroots level. So now the question would be, what do we do? What are we doing right now for us to assist our tour guides? You know what? with our federation, with the TG Federation, through the help of other member and non-member associations, we are very like other countries also. We really adopted the resilience-based framework, especially in reviving our ranks, our status quo. This is very, very important nowadays that we have to embrace the resilience-based framework. You know what? Just to tell a story that our country, Philippines particularly, we were so lucky as well, okay, that we received several stimulus packages and interventions from the national government. And through the help of our national legislators, our National Tourism Congress, and several national associations, it's really important that we really have to collaborate. We have to really be involved with the situation right now. And I know it's really hard as well to cascade and disseminate information to the grassroots level with the situation right now. But as much as possible, we are trying. Everybody are trying their best to extend it to the local community as well. And we also adhering to uh, maintain adhere and maintain government recommended health and safety protocols. This is also another thing that we are imbibe of. At the same time, uh, we want to make sure that tour guides ensure that they are fully aware of the site-specific COVID-19 requirements. Okay, in general. Actually, the story is similar to everywhere. Okay, and this our this is our outlook right now from the challenges that we are facing. We need to rebuild. We need to work on. We have to move on, okay, with the challenges that we are facing. And the story is similar to every tour guides, not only tour guides, but also to our tourism stakeholders. Like what they stated, survival modes with high hopes. And this one, as I stated, how to rebuild. Now the question would be rebuilding tourism. Are we ready? So that's now the big question to everyone, not only for our sector in not only for the tour guiding sector, but also to the tourism value chain, because we are all interconnected to each other. So the question is, are we ready? So if this phrase, are we ready? If we're ready, are we set? And if we are set, are we good to go? Okay, in 2022. Okay, so but the principles of question of are we ready has something to do with the process of gathering and envisioning the people. What do I mean by that one? This is we have to make sure that we are part of the responsible recovery for tourism sector. Okay, it's not only us tour guides, but also several sectors, subsectors of the value chain, of the tourism value chain. And the question would be, are we set? Because the idea or the principles of set means, are we prepared? Does everyone are prepared? Okay, or are we still preparing? But in this principle, okay, in this principle, preparing everyone, the keyword is basically collaboration. The collaboration of the tourism stakeholders from private to public entity. So there should be a collaborative learning relationship component in our process. Like do we have to trust our institutions like us. Okay, are we set? Before you go, you have to be set, meaning are you vaccinated when you conduct tours, especially for tour guides, okay, and for tourists. These are things that are basic in nature, but we have to acknowledge, because these are all important as well. The alignment of motivations and expectation that should be executed. Okay, so it's really very important. That's why messaging is very important nowadays, especially for rebuilding tourism. And the go part, okay, the go principle. uh did we think of strategies in rebuilding for us to go forward? Okay, so these are basically important. We have to go and rebuild back. We have to be, our major goal for us to go is rebuild back better tourism. Okay, rebuild back better as a tourism industry. And when we rebuild back, responsible tourism and sustainable tourism is a part of the big picture. And the next thing would be, we have to remember that um, rebuilding back safely, okay, is one of the goal of any recovery and reconstruction, like this phenomenal event, like pandemic, this pandemic. Okay, so there are several strategies that we need to go. Okay, if we want to go, okay, in rebuilding it, go rebuild back safely. We have to rebuild back fast. Okay, so meaning rebuilding back fast. Actually, this is the most challenging endeavors. So that's why, but if there's a political will, it will work. Okay. Then rebuilding back fairly. Okay. When you say rebuilding back fairly as a strategy, it means you have to, there's a recovery of inclusiveness. And remember, sustainability is inclusive. Okay. And meaning all sectors will benefit from the post-pandemic reconstruction process. And the last part would be the we have to rebuild back with potential. Okay, when you say rebuilding back with potential, meaning we have to generate future growth opportunities. And we are always optimistic. Tour guides is very optimistic together with our tourism stakeholders that with this situation, there's a big opportunity. And this is, we have to rebuild back potential or the opportunity. Not only economic opportunities and several cultural opportunities for us to embrace the true principle of sustainability. So with that, we rebuild as one. Okay, we rebuild as one, not only as a nation, but as a global community. So that is my topic discussion for today's activity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Gadia, for an interesting insight from the Philippines perspectives. Uh, so, from the tour guides, we will go to the other side of the tourism stakeholders. This is the tourist perspectives. So what are the tourists expect from the tourist guides? What is the perspective of the tourists on tourist guides based on a young traveler? So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome our third speaker, Ms. Yahwabi. She's a young scholar who is also an enthusiast traveler, and she's from the south part of China and currently pursuing her PhD degree in tourism and convention at Busan National University, Busan, South Korea. Her research interest is in tourism behavior and transport. Ms. Yahua is a young researcher with more than 10 SSCI papers and a guest editor of sustainability. And she loves traveling, certainly. And during the pandemic, she traveled within the South Korea country. But she also has been to some of the Southeast Asian countries, such as Malaysia and Indonesia. And she said she loves Malaysian and Indonesian cuisine very much. So do I. We have the same interest in that. Okay, for that, Ms. Yahuabi, over to you. You are still muted. You can unmute your microphone first.
Can you hear me?
Okay, it's good now.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Yahua, which means Asian's flower. So I'm doing research at the Busan National University. Today I'm going to talk about a responsible travel perspective of young tourists in foreign destinations. So let's first, please follow me to watch a video related to one of the city named Gyeongju in Korea. So, okay, this is one of the cities in Korea. So I would like to mention that the two beauties in the video is not me. So when we make a travel decision, first we are driven by special attributes of the destination. Then we will form the tourism behavior. Last, we will share the information about the tourism, maybe about the destination. Since recently, I published a paper related how to induce the young people to make a travel decision. It's talking about how to foster a young audience media-induced travel intentions, the role of parasocial interaction. So, parasocial interaction is one-side friendship. It was built between tourists, potential tourists, and characters appeared on the television program. So my research applied the concept of parasocial interaction to television program to identify whether it can trigger a young audience to travel, to foster their travel intention. So the current study's purpose was to investigate the motivations that enhance the audience parasocial interaction with television program that could introduce the local culture, like the local history, and also examine the relation among the audience parasocial interaction, perceived well-being, and the travel intention. and also test whether perceived well-being can mediate the links between parasocial interaction and travel intention. So to adduce the travel intention, especially for the young generation, is our main gains. Especially in COVID-19 environment, people cannot easily travel about, like travel to the other countries. So enhancing parasocial interaction is essential to attracting potential young tourists and improving competitiveness in an increasingly discerning market, in particular in a COVID-19 environment, right? Social media, which is widely enjoyed by our young generations, strongly influence the tourist behaviors as well as the destination brand engagement. So the destination marketing can advise to engage with potential young tourists through various marketing channels by establishing this kind of a one-side friendship. So as a young generation, I like watch TikTok. I remember 2 years ago, before COVID-19, I traveled to Malaysia and I watched a lot of videos related to Malaysia people, like they post on TikTok. So it gave me a very different cultural experience to understand the local culture. I'm not sure whether TikTok can be used in Indonesia because I traveled to Indonesia 5 years ago. I visited Indonesia for twice, so it's very nice country. That is why I visited there for twice. So in COVID-19 environment, international tourists have been greatly affected. For example, in the case of China, China is the largest outbound market in the world, right? So, but during the COVID issues, we Chinese people have not have difficulty to travel abroad, but we have this kind of things to experience different cultures. That's why millions of people travel to the countries such as Malaysia or such as Indonesia, Thailand, or Singapore. And for example, countries like Malaysia and Indonesia have rich tourism resource and international residents. For me, I visited 3 cities in Malaysia, like Malacca and Kuala Lumpur. And also I visited 2 cities in Indonesia, like Padang and Mindan. So COVID-19 makes us to think about what is the role of the young generations, or what should our young generations should do, especially what is the perspective of responsible travelers for young tourists in foreign destinations. So I talk these things with my sister, who is also international tourist, like to travel abroad. And the first things I would think I represent Chinese culture. Sometimes when I travel abroad, I like to talk with people around the world. I like talk with them. I like talk with a guide to listen to their small stories, to listen to they will tell me the cultural bond between China and between their country. So this kind of cultural bond attracted me. And second, wearing a mask and follow the local laws and regulations. So in Korea, if you take public transportation, you need to wear a mask, otherwise it's illegal. So as a foreigner here, I will follow the local law and wear a mask when I go to some public place to protect myself and protect others. I think during the COVID-19, we East Asia people in the Asia are doing quite well. And as a third, I think it's like respect the local culture and history. As tourists, we always like to experience a different culture, like it's kind of curiosity. I think it's like if we know the local culture, we would spread this kind of history, spread this kind of culture when we going back home. And last is protect the local environment. So as the first speakers also mentioned the responsibility to protect the environment on the beach. And for me, when I think about protect the local environment, I would say I will try to take public transportation because public transportation is usually, it will reduce the carbon oxygen, right? So this is my recent research, just will published soon. It's about talking about So it's talking about determinants of collective transport mode choice and its impact on trip satisfaction. So this is a research that we did just recently. It's about one of the cities in Europe, Barcelona. We all know that the continuous growth of tourism has impact environment, and transport accounts for a larger proportion of the carbon oxygen emissions generated by our tourists actually. Understanding the motivations and characteristics of the collective transportation users in contemporary cities may contribute to promote more sustainable forms of tourism. Based on the extension questionnaires on international tourists from more than 130 countries in Barcelona, my research explored the links among visitors' characteristics. You can see the gentle age and travel campaign, length of stay, and repeat visit and accommodation. We tested this kind of relationship. Further, my research also investigates whether the preference for collective transportation has an impact on satisfaction with the trip. Why we want to know this? Because usually for public transportation or collective transportation, we would always think public transportation less comfortable, crowded, and not very flexible, and maybe not very fast as like taxi, right? Taxi. So when I did this research in the city of Barcelona, we found that professional travelers are more oriented to use private car, but they prefer to use collective transportation when the length of stay is higher or combined with other motivations. And also we found that using collective transport is linked with high satisfaction with the visitor for the tourist using the forms of transportation. So it means that collective transportation will contribute to the trip satisfaction. So advocating collective transportation can bring health and environmental advantages by increasing physical exercise, reducing pollution and traffic congestion, and also creating employment opportunities for the locals, right? So as a tourist, when I travel abroad, for example, when I travel in Korea, I would like to take the subway or take the bus. So this is my personal experiments at the city we just watched at the videos, Gyeongju. So I take the public bus to the city. So this is the photos I take at the museum. You can see there's various things related to the local culture. Then later, this is a photo that I take at the museum. You can see there is different languages, Korean, English, Chinese, and Japanese. Even though I understand Korean, English, but I still prefer Chinese. Why? Because it could be easily for me to understand the local culture. These things also remind of me, like recently, I'm doing a research related to the 19 Mexico, which is one of tragedies during the World War II. I have one interviewee who is from Indonesia. And my interviewee told me that he visited this memorial hall in China. He has very good experience, but one thing, the local museum did not have Indonesian language. He kind of felt like frustrated. He wished we can have the local Asian language, not only in English, so that the people or tourists in other countries can easily understand your culture and their history. This is the things happened during my research. So I think this could be advised in other countries as well. Definitely, reading my mother language, it would be much easy. So this is one of a cultural heritage in Gyeongju. And they offered free cultural experience. You can see this for me, that I wear the local clothes and also try to taste some local food. This kind of experiments, cultural experiments, will make me remember what happened. Now I show this and share this information on this conference. So you can see I finished my information sharing behaviors. This could be kind of a promotion. Later, I share my travel experiments on Facebook. I mentioned that the location is Yangdong Folk Village. I also mentioned that this is a kind of a world heritage. So I mentioned the reputation of the village. And also I mentioned that I love this cute cookie. Actually, this kind of stories was told by our tourist guide. Our tourist guide mentioned some like stories related to this village, so that I can, some small stories usually can grab the people's attention. So I finished my information sharing. So at the beginning, I mentioned that the first things when I travel abroad is try to represent kind of Chinese culture. So welcome to China. And last, I'm doing research related to Memorial Hall of the Victims in Nanjing, Mexico by Japanese invaders. If you are interested in the topic, you can contact me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Yahua, for your sharing your research and your experience in traveling in foreign countries. Okay, we have our 3 speakers already. Now let's go to the Q&A session. We still have a few minutes. I see some questions on the chat room. We will take some. We have one, I think this is from Jakarta, from Mr. Revalino. He's from Indonesia Tourism Academy, and asking to Mr. Gadia. Mr. Revalino asked he wants to know whether there is a collaboration between tourism stakeholder in the Philippines with the Tourist Guide Association there. And is there any collaboration also between your association with higher education of tourism? Mr. Gadia, could you answer to this question, please? Mr. Gadia, can you hear my voice?
Hello, ma'am. Yes,
Yes.
Lenny.
Yeah, did you hear the question?
Sorry, I'm having a challenge with my internet. Sorry.
Okay, let me repeat the question because this question is addressed to you. This is from Mr. Revalino from Indonesia Tourism Academy, Jakarta. He wants to know, is there any collaboration between tourism stakeholders with the Tourist Guide Association in your country? And is there any collaboration between the Tourist Guide Association with the higher education of tourism also in the Philippines?
I believe the one who's spearheading it is the ministry or the Department of Tourism. Now we are a part because we have this what we call program, which we call it it's like a um, uh, assistance coming from higher education and higher education and technical education. It's So as of the moment, I believe there's an ongoing program for the collaboration. And right now, there are several local collaborations created. And we are also uh, part of the pipeline program of the Philippine Federation is a partnership with the tourism associations in the country.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gadia. I hope that answers Mr. Revalino's question. We go to the next question. I'd like to address this question to Mr. Sangtu. Mr. Sangtu, can you help to answer the question? The question is, what you mentioned on your presentation, the strategies during the COVID-19 pandemic. But what are the short-term and long-term revival plans of your organizations to rebuild tourist guides capacity post-COVID-19 pandemic? Over to you, Mr. Sangtu.
Okay, thank you for the question, Ms. Lenny. So as an institution, ITGA, for the short-term policy for the members is only to encourage all the members to be aware that this pandemic will last more time. So that's why we recommend to everyone, our members, to learn other job as a temporary job for survive like that. So in this case, just like switching job for surviving, but it's not forgetting how to improve our skill, upgrading our knowledge to prepare when the tourism come back like that. And for long term, we plan because I heard the explanation from the presentation from Ms. Yahua. So actually, institution just the aim of institution to push all the members to be professional, from the ordinary guide to be a tourism professional. So that's why we always plan the program of education and training all the time, upskilling, to have higher standard, to have higher value of the tourist guide. Because from that side, that's for long term. From that side, if during giving the services or tour guide and then the satisfied clients, usually they will talk with colleagues, with friends, arriving home from to their country. They get all the experience of traveling. If they are happy, then that's actually for me is promotions. The promotion mouth to mouth to other people that stimulate the new visitors. Even for the storyteller, actually, they will create a wish to come back to the. That's why as a repeater like that. So that's not. It's just like this guy's promotion for even the government is not realized that. So until now, the guide just only could be said underestimated. The guide, the person who's speaking a foreign language and work blah 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 blah, but that point they don't say. So that's why until now the institution ITTR always push their members for the long term. You must improve yourself because not. The ordinary guide like this, meanwhile, the government has talking about sustainable development goal like that. So be better. So be better from tourist guide to be a professional tourism like that. That's for long term.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sangtu. Now I'd like to go to Ms. Yahua. Ms. Yahua, a question for you. Based on your experience, do tourist guides have a significant role in helping tourists to reshape their traveling behavior to be more responsible? If yes, in what way? Over to you.
Thank you very much for your questions. As I also see the question are related, maybe I can ask the first question, like the ask for the how to survive without the job. because my hometown was a tourist destination actually, so I can speak a little bit for this part. I watch a lot of videos on YouTube, on TikTok. Maybe, I bet you know TikTok, right? I watched some videos like during the pandemic, Chinese tourists cannot go to the other countries, right? For sure. But I watched some videos which was made by people from Vietnam or maybe by people from Malaysia. Maybe some of them are tourist guides actually. They make the local videos. They can make the local videos even without tourists. They can introduce this kind of like destination attractiveness. So they make the local videos and upload on to the like social medias like TikTok. So thousands of people watch, maybe millions of people also, they watch this kind of videos. They will form this kind of intention. After the COVID-19, it will end soon. It will end, no matter how long it takes, but it will end in the future. So I think it's a kind of a good way. At the same time, if you make the videos, you can make a little bit money through the like platform. So maybe, and at the same time, it also promotes the destination. I think I watched some videos from my personal experiments. And you also mentioned another question is about, do tourist guides have a significant role helping like tourists to reshape their traveling behaviors? I think for sure, as a tourist, I visit countries in Malaysia or Indonesia. I have very well connection with tourist guide actually. They're talking with me like the local culture. They're talking with me how to risk. For example, when I visit Malaysia, the people would talk me into some Muslim culture to me, so that that I learn something. I learn that I need to respect the local culture. But if the tourist could introduce this kind of culture deeply, I would have more interest in this kind of culture, which that usually I may not have the experience, like chance to like experience when I was in Korea. So I think tourist guide is like a national image. They stand for their country actually, not only for themselves, not only for making money or for survival. They are the name card of this country, of all this culture. I think they can shape the tourist behaviors and make the tourists know this country and understand their culture and be more responsible for the local environment for sure. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Yahuat. Yeah, definitely, I agree with that. So, tourist guides are also the important person to help us to rebuild tourism more sustainable and responsible. Okay, next, I can see some familiar names here. So it looks like that we have some tourism and hospitality students also watching here and listening to our sharing. So this question is for Mr. Sangtu and Mr. Gadia. Could you help us to answer these questions for these students watching here? For the students of tourism and hospitality students or graduates of tourism and hospitality, what new skills or are there new skills that are required for them to build a successful career as tourist guides based on the lesson learned of the pandemic? I'd like Mr. Gadia, could you answer this first, please?
That's a very good question for our students, especially if we talk about skills. Basically, as I keep on telling this, have your basic skills in tour guiding, maintain, because remember in guiding, face-to-face is still important, okay? But you have to adapt with the current situation right now. You have to broaden your horizon in terms of technological advancement. Your technical skills is very important nowadays. And at the same time, our skills, adapting skills with the new normal procedures, with the guidelines presented by our government for our protection, for our safety, and for us to be healthier is very, very important. So these are the things. The health skills, okay, adapting health skills with the new normal and the technological advancement is a very important combination.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gadia. Mr. Sangtu, do you have more to add to this?
Well, I add a little bit. You talk about requirement and the students willing to be a tourist guide like that. Of course, the first things they should improve the fluency of the foreign language. Because if you want to be a tourist guide like me, French speaking, you have to make a course first, and you be sure you can explain in foreign language and your choice to everything about country, about culture. That first. Number second is of course, because look, this profession actually is not very considered by many people. So that's why in all academy, it's like tourism academy. This section, this prodi is not many people interested, because you know the tourist guide for the time being is considered as the workers. But in the meantime, we in ITGA already prepare in this time of pandemic, COVID-19, an institution how to be a tourist guide. And there is, you can contact us, because we prepare all the module, all the syllabus based on SKKNI on competence like that. So of course, after I told in my presentation, we make a socialization to the campus, because actually we are frontline regarding our position, our standing position in the tourism stakeholder. We are as a frontliner. It's a noble profession actually. If you work properly, you improve your standard, you become a tourism professional. You also give the country contribution to the country. If, as I told you before, satisfied client will talk. Imagine if there are 1,000 professional guide, the satisfied client will talk over there, abroad there, that Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines is worthy to be visited. So that's a contribution, a real contribution to the country. So please come. We have actually all the subject about how the technique guiding, how to handle complaint, is all referred to our act in competence, how to be competent as a tourist guide, like that. So all our children, please, I would like to encourage you. This profession is nobilium officium, actually. It's a frontliner. You are proud, you can move around. That is all, of course. And in every profession, there is advantage and disadvantage. But be sure that you come to us, to ITGR, to ask this question. For all the requirements I will explain. And after pandemic, of course, we adapt how to giving service caused by this pandemic. At least to keeping mask, everything that is a complementary of our syllabus. Thank you. That's my information.
Thank you, Mr. Sangtu. I've spoken to the committee that giving 20 minutes to tour guides is not enough, because you should talk the whole day. But unfortunately, we are limited by time. But before we finish the session, I'd like to ask one wrap-up question. Please answer in less than 1 minute. Okay, the question is that when the COVID-19 pandemic put domestic and international travel entirely to a stop, despite the campaigns by international and national bodies, tourism bodies to restart tourism, please share your insights on how can we bring back tourism actively and more attractive post-pandemic but in a responsible and sustainable manner. I'd like Mr. Sangtu first to answer this, less than 1 minute.
Okay, so well, tourism should be open as soon as the COVID should be overcome, and as tourism are open, the guide will be always tourist guide will be always needed. So how to make attract people more than improve yourself, improve your standard, improve your capacity. So that will it will make difference of the future tourism, back to the future, not back to the normal, but back to the future. As Gadia said, that you enhance your ability of information technology like that.
Thank you, Mr. Sangtu. Mr. Gadia, less than 1 minute.
Yeah, how we bring back tourism actively, it will be more attractive in a responsible and sustainable manner if it starts within our community. So within our home, within our community, ready our community, set our goals, and go on rebuilding back safely with inclusivity and opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gadia. Ms. Yahua, from the tourist perspectives, your view on this, please, in less than 1 minute.
Thank you very much. The one thing, during the COVID-19, we Chinese people suffer a lot. I saw tons of negative things, negative news on internet, right? So the one thing I want to know after the pandemic, will they work on us or will they treat us nicely instead of posting too many negative news related to China, like anti-China propaganda? So tons of news on the internet. Chinese people will read it also for sure. We understand the foreign language. So I wonder whether we'll be treated nicely or warmly when we travel to foreign countries. This is the one thing. Also for the safety, you can see a lot of tons of videos on the internet about, for example, in Western countries, there is anti-Asian racials. So I wonder whether we will be worked on or whether we will be treated nicely and warmly. We spend money. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Yahuabi. So everyone, that concludes our session for this afternoon. I'm very happy for the sharing of our speakers and for our great participants today. So on behalf of the ICRTH 2021 committee, I'd like to express our gratitude to all speakers for your valuable insights, and to our friends and colleagues here who have been here the whole sessions. Thank you very much. I hope this session is beneficial to you. And to our friends and colleagues, we truly hope that the COVID-19 pandemic could soon be over and we can restart to travel again. But this pandemic has also taught us something valuable, that we have to rethink and rebuilding tourism again more responsibly and sustainably. Okay, thank you very much to all of us here, and see you all in another event. In the meantime, stay blessed, stay safe, and stay healthy. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lenny.
Thank you. Goodbye. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sangtu, Mr. Gadia, Ms. Yahua.
Welcome.
All the best to you.
Keep health.